you know, there will always be people that will not love your product, and you cannot please anyone. Even when you start selling, I see that with even like actual customers. We're trying to bring you stuff, and they say, "Oh no, 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 I don't want that." Okay, but you don't want that, okay, and that's okay. You have the right to not want this, but my vision is going there. You follow or you're not, and that's part of it, you know.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kevin Newsom. I'm the head of community at Triple Whale. Welcome to Whale Sightings, our third episode. Super excited to welcome in our latest guest, Phil. I'm gonna do the best I can with your last name, but I might pun it, in which case I'll just go ahead and apologize proactively. But Phil, is it Kyprianou?
Yeah, that's good. You got it.
Did I get close?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Phil's the brains and brawn and all the rest behind GothRider Coffee, and there's kind of so. Well, first of all, I guess why don't we start by you're located in Quebec. Now, I did go back and watch one of the podcasts that you guys have done, and we'll want to unpack that in a minute. But you mentioned a story in the episode that I saw about how you guys started and the relationship in your business between what you've done in the US and what you've done in Canada. And can you speak to that a little bit? Tell us where you came from and how you got here.
Yeah, actually, I mean, I've been doing marketing for the past 20 years, digital marketing. And in 2000, if I remember, 12 or 13, something like that, I got into Teespring, selling T-shirt online, just, like that, I always wanted like to sell stuff online. I did like back in the days, yeah, like almost everyone started selling on eBay and things like that. But I really got into it and love it really much. And in 2015, there was like this craze about drop shipping. So I jumped into drop shipping. And while I was doing drop shipping, I had at a certain point like 10 stores. And one of them was GothRider, actually. And the idea behind that was not to create a brand or anything like that. It was just like to split up based on the type of niche we had. So I had like, I was targeting nurses, firefighters, a bunch of other people, and motorcycle. And there was always like that thing that was attracting me more than the others. And I was always making more sales there and things like that. And at a certain point, I decided, what, I should like stop doing the rest, focus only on that, and start having fun and grow that thing. Up to a certain point, we did, I think if I remember, our first $1 million in sales in 8 months, and that was like totally like crazy because I mean, I did so much revenues online and than any other business before. So there was like this huge craze. But at the same time, when you never did that, there's all the other bad stuff that coming in, how to manage your cash flow, your inventory, your drop shipping partners, and a bunch of different crazy part up to a certain point where people were seeing a lot of our brand. I had also a community online, the Shopify groups back then. We had like 40,000 people, and I was sharing also my story. So a lot of people were seeing the same thing. And at a certain point, because all of these were happening, I started getting copied. People were stealing the products because, all the products were available on AliExpress. And, there was like all this kind of madness that was happening at a certain point. And when you're in all those craze, you're not ready to face all of this thing, and it's your first thing that everything is happening, I think, some people will panic. Some people will find solutions. Some people will go everywhere. And I decided, just to take a step back and see, what should I do better to get, this as more what I love, a brand and things like that. And at that point, what I loved the most was doing like jewelry. And doing jewelry in China was some sort of problematic because there was exactly the same thing. We started like doing some models. We got stolen our models. People were getting like the same thing at a cheaper price. and we decided, you know what, I don't want to get into that again. So what I'm going to do is take a step back again, and we're going to bring that in Montreal. So I started like building a network with artisan ear jewelers and starting doing our stuff. Now I faced another challenge, is that we were used to sell, you know, anything about like $60 AOV cheap jewelry. That was, I mean, still quality, but not what were looking. So all the database of people that we built back then, we had to start back, because but someone that is used to buy a $60 jewelry versus a $350 to $1,500 jewelry is not, again, the same type of customers. So we challenge. It was like a time of challenge, and I take a step back again. So so it's always like that thing that I love doing what I do. I understand the whole thing, but I need to bring that to another level. And in 2019, I was doing consulting for other brands, e-commerce brands, helping them also in their growth, and fixing their issues and all this kind of thing. And I came across a coffee roaster, and we became very good friend. And at the time of the pandemic, exactly, and that's where I was starting, looking for different avenues. I was a coffee lover for the past 20 years. I was looking into supplement. I was looking to cosmetic, but always with that focus on that niche and persona. And because of that, I said, you know what? I mean, are you okay if we're trying, building a proprietary blend for us, and just try it out, and we'll see if that works. And they said yes. So in like 3 weeks, we did a pivot on the business, and we relaunched the brand, redo like everything, the website, the logo, and we started from scratch, building there from there. And in a couple of months, we started growing, selling over a ton of coffee per month. And now it's been going and going and going. But it's not. How can I say that? It's still challenging now, because there's new challenge coming in. There's a
Sure.
bunch of stuff coming in that we were not facing like 2 years ago, 5 years ago. So we have again to adapt. But now it's not anymore about let's say the products or the market. It's about how the behaviors of the people on platforms have changed, and how also the platform changed, and now we have to adapt. So it's totally different thing. So here's the short story.
Well, yeah, you bring up a really good point. I mean, the fact of the matter is that buyer behavior has changed over the year. Like, if nothing else, like if it were regular ebbs and flows, then that would be one thing. But you throw in a global pandemic for a couple of years, and and just full disclosure, like I have run a boutique coffee brand. It's like I have very distinct opinions on so I'm gonna pause, and I'm gonna ask you a quick question based upon my little jut here. So the question that I asked in somebody in my last episode, and I think, in my opinion, I have a thought on what you're gonna say, but I'm gonna put the question to you first, which is to say that in a lot of areas there are I kind of, the term that I use is there's sort of like a mafia subset of that audience, which is like super intractable. They love what they love, and they love it exactly the way that they love it. And please do not change it, or you will hear from those guys. What are your opinions on the coffee mafia, and how have they, if that supposition is true, how have those guys embraced what you're doing?
So at first, that's a very good question, and that exists in every kind of industry. And just to do a throwback, I used to be in the music industry back 20 years ago, and it was exactly the same thing. There was always that pro type that knew better than anyone else,
Oh,
and
right.
that masters than anyone else, and they have the only answer for anyone else. That's super cool for you guys. And you will always face that, and they will be always the loudest out there, to try to push you and challenge you. Actually, that happened to me when I started. I had all those roaster out there, who's that guy, he's coming from where, what is his experience, he doesn't know anything about coffee, look at his brand, it doesn't to anyone, it's too dark, it's too this, it's too that. And And actually, I mean, after, I mean, seeing now almost like 2 years doing that, now they say, okay, I think that guys know a bit what he's doing, you know, because
You won them
we haven't
over.
seen that before, you know, and they see it all over, you know, they come, they get retargeted and they get like, okay, now we can say anything, but that actually happened. And actually a lot of local, even where, you know, I started at a certain point, like knocking doors, talking to people um, that can, you know, distribute our products, and just because of that they didn't want, because they knew better than us actually. But now, I mean, it's a bit different. They know that, okay, we're a stand-up brand, the quality of the product is there, we have a lot of reviews to back that, and you know, and that comes with it, you know. But I think that's a lesson for anyone. You know, I think that anyone that is launching a new business, they will face something like that, and they have to put their they have to have like that narrow vision, and close their any kind of distraction actually that can that can stop them. Actually, there's, you know, there will always be people that will not love your product, and you cannot please anyone. Even when you start selling, I see that with even like actual customers. We're trying to bring new stuff, and they say, "Oh no, 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 I don't want that." Okay, but you don't want that, okay, and that's okay. You have the right to not want this, but my vision is going there. You follow or you not, and that's part of it, you know.
Well, and I would say I would even kind of take that maybe even a half step further, which is to say that like then there are the people on the other side of the coin, which is like they love GothRider Coffee so much that it's like if you tweak it in the smallest way, even to respond to a national trend or like some sort of a pragmatic business decision, you're going to hear from those guys. So it's like I think what I'm taking away from what you've told me so far are like really you guys have done a couple of things. One is that you've tried to stay flexible and responsive to what the market is doing. And then secondly, it sounds like you have really simplified your offerings and tried to make those as accessible as possible. Would that be accurate?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's quite accurate in the point that we're trying to not, I would say, not accommodate, but make it, like you say, like simple as possible to go through, let's say, the process of embracing the brand. Here you go.
Sure. Oh, sure. Yeah. Well, the other thing is like what we haven't even talked about. We don't have to go down the rabbit hole about this, but I do think it's interesting. Is like marketing agnostic, right? So you're out there hustling on the marketing side, and you have strategies that you're putting into place, and you're keeping track of the metrics so you can see how those are doing, and continuing to optimize those on your way. To say nothing of how complex the coffee business can be in terms of like terroir, the different types of beans and where they come from. You said like one of the things that I think I picked up from reading up on you guys was that, and it sounds like this is probably a beneficial, the relationship that you have with your roaster is putting together that proprietary blend that speaks to so many, but maybe isn't exactly what they're going to get someplace else.
Yeah, exactly. And the coffee actually comes from one of my problem is acidity. So I felt that for a longest time I was drinking, you know, coffee that I had always a lot of acidity, and I was adding, and more you grow, you know, more you're getting age, you know, you are getting more acidity because of stress, because of a bunch of things. And I, after doing, you know, a lot of research, and I was always coming back to that kind of coffee, that kind of origin, that kind of blend. I said, you know what, when I'm gonna build like our first blend, I want it to make sure that first of all it fit for me perfectly for the problem I had, because I'm sure that there's a bunch of other people that have the same problem. That actually what a bit like pulled the trigger in terms of people loving the coffee. Finally, they had something that was not, first of all, over roasted, that was really tasting what we said it was tasting, had more caffeine, and because we were pushing the caffeine part as well for the good kick of good energy, instead of having like those energy drink with much sugar and all this kind of thing. And we had like the right balance. So when people found this out, we validated it with them. we figure out that there was actually, what we built was really what we were going for, and it was a match. So that helped a lot to go through that concept, and then after that we start developing other stuff. I don't. Was that yeah?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, for sure. Well, and I'm in fairness to you, I've kind of made you go down the rabbit hole a little bit, but I just think it's really interesting. I mean, one of the things that fascinates me about the coffee business in particular is that there are a lot of brands out there, and there are a lot of sort of strata of different types of products that speak to a different subset of a very large audience. And then you take like the product itself, and I had a buddy who was teaches college courses on coffee, and one of the things that he told me that stuck with me was that our taste buds are sophisticated enough that they can make out between 850 and 950 individual flavor notes from a single coffee bean, which is insane, first of all. And then second of all, that those are extracted to a higher degree based upon the temperature of the drink, which is why your coffee tastes different if you leave it out for a little while. So it's like coffee on the surface sounds like a very sort of straightforward, linear product, when in fact, like, there's a lot of nuance and a lot going on there. So it's like you guys are managing a flavor profile that it sounds like really lands with your crowd, and you're doing it in a way that gives you a chance to position yourself in a neat way compared to a lot of noise in that channel. So that's cool. That's really interesting.
Thank you.
Tell me about your podcast. I sat down and watched a bunch of. I just caught most of one episode, but I was like, this is fascinating. There were a lot of people in there, and it's bilingual, and so which is of course to be expected in your neck of the woods. But you talked a little bit about, we mentioned this a second ago earlier, but just to make sure that I'm not leaving any of this on the table, like, you guys started in the States and then you moved back to Canada, and it sounded like a good part of that function was the direct to consumer shipping component. Is that accurate?
Yeah. So basically, when we started, in 2015, originally, for sure, there was no coffee. So it was very easy, to drop ship from anywhere in the world. There was no barrier there. But when we started doing coffee, since is food, it's regulated. So we had to start by going locally, only in Canada. And at the same time, it was good because we could validate the product and see how it works. But also, the other issue it was we needed like Fda approval because there's a gray zone. Okay, there's really a gray zone. So you can ship food, but if you get caught and diseased, and you need to have someone there, an agent or something like that, and you don't have that, you might have a fees or a bunch of different like issues. So we decided to not moving forward until we got that Fda approval. We got it in September 2020, something like that. It took us about 3-4 months to get that. Lots of hoops. And once we did that, it's when we started actually to focus more on the United States. So that was the reason actually we didn't start. But if that wasn't the problem, we would have started right in the United States for multiple reasons. First of all, it's bigger. There's more people to reach, and the cost to acquire a customer is cheaper than in Canada or in some province in Canada as well.
Makes sense. I teased the fact that you guys have a really great turnout for your podcast. Like, there's just a lot of activity there. What do you? I'm a community nerd. Like, what do you? How do you attest to that kind of response?
So actually, when we started that kind of podcast, actually it was just to do the giveaways. So I started doing a first giveaway. I think it was like May 2020, and the goal was to announce who was going to be the winner. And I started talking about what was going to come up with GothRider news, and after that doing the giveaways. Then I like that. I said, oh, there's an interaction. People are getting into it, so I'm gonna start doing that once a week. So I started doing that once a week, and then after that, the month after, I said, you know what, we're gonna start doing like that every single day for a week and see if that works. There was like people showing up, and we had a discussion. Actually, it was a one way discussion, but actually people were responding on the comments, and I was updating people from their questions. And then we decided, you know what, I'm gonna do that every single day in the week, and show up and talk about the news and everything related to what we do, educating them also about coffee, and doing the giveaway at the end. So there's always that component of the giveaway, but also sorry, the thing is, we started building a community because of that. So people were coming in, they were seeing the same people again over and over, and they started, making, I would say, like friend. And we got the Facebook group, the official GothRider community group as well, where I started posting more about the news, and I started also to get more transparent about what we were doing, even on the support side. So people, sometimes you can have issues or delays, and I was telling them, okay, we got that problem right now, and I found out that helped a lot in terms about like being transparent, and when you have problems and you see actually there's humans behind, because that's most of the time the problem with e-commerce is you don't know who's behind that. It is, a big business, a big, or they just want to be a grab cash or that kind of stuff. And I really try to get that approach where, we are that, old general store where you got a guy behind the desk, and hey, what's up? How was your weekend? What you did? And that friendly approach, and I also consider our business a bit like a family business, because my mother's gonna help, my wife's gonna help, my sister's gonna help also. So I want to have like that kind of feeling in the community and the people. I try to treat them as part of the family, and I think that's another part of the thing that makes us also different from the rest, is we don't have issues about showing up. We know we're gonna fuck up, and when we do it, we tell them as well, we did that, but don't be worried, we're gonna fix the issue. You're gonna get a gift card, or we're gonna resend your product or whatsoever, but we were there. We assume. I think that's a big thing.
Well, and you guys, like you said it right there, like that transparency, I think, goes a long way, just in like essentially kind of announcing that you're in partnership with the folks who purchase your product. And honestly, the thing that I thought was most fascinating about watching that podcast was that people were sending you recipes, and you were like, oh yeah, that actually sounds really good. And so it was that level of buy-in where, and this is 25 minutes into a podcast, and I was like that shows that that they're just along for the ride. They appreciate what you guys do and the way that you do it. And so I think that was that kind of, and another thing is like that kind of regular cadence where you're getting out in front of your audience on a regular basis, giving them dialogue, you're reading their questions in real time. Like the whole thing was unfiltered. It was great. Let me ask you this. Aside from the caffeine, where do you get your inspiration? Because it seems like you guys are constantly iterating or trying to come up with new products or new things that you can, share with your crowd.
Yeah, I would say that we get an inspiration from anything out there, anything part of the, the trends, or anything that has a link to our industry. So, one thing that I really love is anything that is, related to TV shows, because a lot of people are, can watch that. So I love the Peaky Blinders, Sons of Anarchy, Yellowstones. I try to get my ideas from, those kind of stuff, so we go and we try to label ourselves as badass. So I try to go in that thing, from Vikings to riders, to knights, to zombies or anything that is. So there's that kind also of cartoony approach, dork, geeky, Dungeons and Dragons limit, and this kind of thing. And that's, and actually that's what I love and enjoy also. So it's easier to get those IDs at the same time.
And then audience-wise, are you finding that I'm guessing just based on your branding that you guys skew male, but like, what's your audience look like?
So that's a very, very, very interesting thing, because when we started, we were very male focused. We said, you know what, that's going to be 99% men and all this kind of thing. And finally, we found out that we're more in the 35% women, 65% men. And
that's significant.
Yeah, really, really. And the engagement is quite incredible from the woman part also. So men will be big buyers, women also, but the engagement will come more from the woman. And I think at the same time, it's really it has really to do with social media globally. I think like a woman engage more than men automatically. But regarding our audience, definitely, I was surprised, because that was not what we were expecting. Now that we have to develop more I would say woman-focused product, which is a challenge. It's a challenge. So I have to think more about that.
I'm gonna take a wild guess though, and I think that my supposition is that, in part because you are so public and transparent in the way that you guys are building your company, that trust factor goes a long way with some of your audience, and that could account for why and it could just be that you found 35% of your audience that likes strong coffee that you didn't think was there, which is amazing. But yeah, it sounds like you guys are continuing to experiment. What other products can we expect to see from your organization sooner than later?
So
no pressure.
No. This year we decided to do more coffee product because for the past 2 years we're running only on one SKU actually. So this year we decided to develop new coffee blend, but also we're starting like with the St. Patrick's Day. It was the Leprechaun blend, which is an Irish cream flavored coffee. So we're trying that kind of stuff, which is a bit like cheesy, but we had a lot of demand from our customers, and Easter that is there. Also, we're gonna have a special flavored coffee, and we want to have like those limited edition flavored, and we'll still have some, I would say, natural blend as well. But we're trying to test. I think that having a wider range of products to test will help us also to figure out which one will be our, I will say it straight like that, but our milk cow. Because
Sure.
Because sometimes you can stick to one thing that you think it's yours, it's your milk cow, but it is not, until you find it. So I think we're gonna continue like developing that, and also we're always testing new products. We invested a lot in the technology to print on demand, also in house. So from T-shirt to tumblers to mugs and things like that. And the other also aspect I'm still trying to work on is to bring that new technology factor, which is like NFTs and things like that, and how I can bring that to the world attached to physical product. So this is something I've been like pretty obsessed, I'm gonna tell you, the past couple of months, and I think I found out a way, and that maybe is something we're gonna launch. And when I say maybe, is like there's still a friction, in that space where mostly the older crowd are definitely either like not really don't understand, and they're afraid of, you know. So it's why I say maybe, and if we're doing it, we'll have like to aim for another kind of crowd, which is probably younger, more gamers, things like that, that are more, I would say, open to the technology. But I think we have to put our ends there, at least, you know, to have a good understanding of what's coming in the future and be ready when the big things are going to come and will be there, you know. And I'm a like I said, I'm a geek. I love like technology and anything related to that. So I always try to bring stuff that I love into the brand as well.
No, that's great, and obviously your audience will tell you what they want, right? So they're gonna
Exactly.
yeah. So that's terrific. This is such a silly question, but I always try to ask, like, what do you wish that you knew when you got started that you know now?
I would say that the biggest issue, and I think it's underestimated by most of the e-commerce business owners, and I include myself now, is cash flow. Cash flow in that business is king, is very hard to manage as you grow. And when I was saying earlier, when we got our first million in 8 months, I think that was the biggest struggle, because you're making so much money at certain point, but your cash flow has to follow up to continue to grow. And soon as you don't follow that rhythm, it's where you get stuck, you know. And understanding those financial metrics soon as you can, I think it's the key. And that's good, I think, for any business. But e-commerce goes so fast, and there's so many movable parts, that if you're able to at least have a good understanding or surround yourself with people that master that, that will help a lot. And I would say that today it's still a struggle. It's still a struggle to do that. I think we haven't found a solution yet, but it's part of the game, and we're gonna have to live and find solution with it. But it's cash flow is, I always say, cash flow is king. If you have that king there, profit anyway will come, can come now or later. But cash flow is the number one thing that needs to be mastered in that business, probably more than the other, like I said, because everything going so fast. But yeah.
So okay, and just last question or two. Like, thank you for that. The last question or two I have, I guess. What channel has have you guys really? I mean, obviously, uh, you've got a presence on YouTube. It sounds like you're out there on social. What channel has really, feels like home for you?
Facebook's still home for us. So
Okay.
it's very hard to move. We tried a bunch of different channels. I would say, like, for sure Facebook first, Instagram second. Facebook, because of the demographic, still demographic, or demographic still old, you know, 45 and up, and it's still the home for most of those people. Facebook, yeah,
That's
sadly.
yeah. No, no, I mean, what's that old thing about objects in motion want to stay in motion? You have to meet people where they are. So if
Exactly.
that's where your crowd is, it's no, yeah, that totally makes sense. Last question, and I didn't tell you I was going to ask this, so I apologize in advance. But have you read anything that you want to pass along? Like, what's the last good thing that you read?
Oh my God, that's a good question. I read so much stuff, and mostly, you know, blogs, and listen to a lot of podcasts as well. Um, I think that's a very good question. Actually, I don't even know if I'm gonna be able to answer, but
Well, maybe that's a good something good for folks to follow up and ask you about
yeah.
when we don't spring it on you. But let me tell you, Phil, this has been such a pleasure, and I really appreciate you taking some time and sitting down with us on Whale Sightings. Really fascinating, and I wish you just great success. So, thanks for taking some time with us on Whale Sightings, and we certainly appreciate you hanging out.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate for that as well.